Hey, this is Captain Hook, and I want to show you how I can open this lock. It's not really manipulating, it's like decoding and making a key. So that's how I do. First part is, if I hold the blocker back, we can see so everything will spring around, but it's not important. The point that's important is down here is a spring that is returning all levers, so only those that didn't jump out of the holding. So all levers are brought back to this exact height. So I didn't touch the levers when I turned the key back. It was basically this core or this part pushing back this spring and lining up all levers at the first indexing point. So if I let now spring in this blocker, we can see they all get engaged at the first tooth here. So that's what's important for our picking, because we know all levers will be at this position if I turn the core like this, because the spring back here is pushing all the levers in the same position. And there's no flop in the core when I have these piled on, so I can actually pretty precisely measure. So this one is pretty unstable if this faceplate is not on. So let's just ignore him. Normally this lock would be mounted like this. So the gravity is pushing the levers down, but it doesn't matter because they are held in place by this springy part here. So when I now come in with this decoding wire, so basically there are 6 decoding wires. That's from a 0 cut, which I did not make because 5 is the minimum number I need, because everything I can't do with those should be a 0 cut. And also those 2 are the most tricky ones. So here you can see the tip is really short. So there's not so much feedback from this one as it is, for example, from one with such a long tip. So this is super easy, and these are very hard to use. Basically they are the same difficulty, because like this I can insert anything super short in the keyway. So I could also make a 0 one. So let's take number 3, because it's very good to see. That's why I made the tips that long. So you can see how I do it. So I know there are 8 levers in the lock. Actually I didn't really count, but yes. So I just looked online and saw it's 8 levers. So yeah, this is the wire for a 3 cut. And my plan is to just insert this wire and go through all the levers and note every lever that I get a confirmation of a 3 cut. I will note it here. So now we can see if the core is like this, I will insert the wire here. I can then go around here. I can also turn it and then go in here. So that doesn't really matter. Now I have the wire inside. And to make everything more precise, I made this aluminum part that I can insert with the wire like this. It's a bit hard to do it through the camera, but like this. Now I have my wire in place, and now I can basically just start at all points. So I will go directly to the first one. And you can see, oh, you can't see. So my wire enters the true gate here. I can turn this far if I go to the next lever, which is pretty easy because there are shields in between. So I go out and now I'm on the shield. And as soon as I can turn in further, oh no, I saw it wrong. So here for this length, there are no shields because they stop right here. So I go from this lever down to this lever, so I can feel like a gap in between here, but I can also mark it on the wire out here. So now I'm on the second lever and I get only a tiny bit of rotation, so basically this much. And that's just because I'm in a false gate. If I go to the next lever, there's also nothing, so there's not even a false gate, and so on. So I can just go through the lock like this. And now I want to extract my wire again. and take it out. So I basically already decoded lever number 1, and I could note a 1 for the lever 1, a 3 for the lever 1. So that's how it works. And basically my approach would be start at the 1, go through all 8 levers, go to 2, 3, 4, and 5, and do everything again. And then I should have this table filled out, and I can make myself a key. Okay, so here I've put the information about how these grooves are positioned. So I think the easiest would be if you get yourself a log with some key and you take this for shaping. So we have these grooves. They are basically 90-degree cuts if you look straight into them on both sides. On the left side we have the beginning of the groove is 1.6 and the end 3.6, and it's also the beginning of the next groove, and the end is at 5.6 millimeters, all measured from the top. So basically the other side is the same down here, and the different cut depth I've put here. It's basically, it starts from 0 from a groove here, and it's incrementally 0.9 millimeters. And it's about 1.3 millimeter between each cut. And it's 8 cuts. The last one doesn't matter, and it's actually stopping here. So that's all you need to know. And yeah, so we don't need this key. I'll put it here and put something on top. So I mean, I could have learned it by heart anyways, but yeah, I will try to show it what I'm doing. So the first thing is I will insert, let's go to a static focus. Whoops. Okay. So I'll insert this pig or this decoding wire, put it into place, and now I'll like this. So if it slides in, so now I'll start at the very back, and so this is basically the 1 cut wire which I took. So I'll just go from the back and incrementally try to figure out which one it is. So this one here, I can turn it a tiny bit further than before. I can also feel it scratch on something. So let's count to the top. That's not so far. Also not. Also not. So this was probably 3. I need a pen. So let's put on the 3. So this is the first lever, second and third from the top. So this was a 1. And the others I didn't find so much of a turn. So that's probably taking the longest, getting it in and out everything. So the first one I've already done. Second one, I think that's one of the trickiest to get in, but a bit of force helps. That was actually easier than the last times. Okay, so let's take the number 2. So I went on the lowest nothing, second nothing, and now I'm at the third from the back, which should be a 6. And I can again feel even a bit of a scratch. So I go further up. Not really. Or did I? Wait, let's start again. So that's again the third from the back, fourth from the back, and no, yeah, that's, stop counting, it was fourth, fifth. So that's number 4 from the front. And that's it. So we had fifth from, yeah, it's here. So that's 2. And it was, I think this, yeah. So you can check again. Yes, third from the back. Oh, that was super easy getting it in and out. So next is 3. Maybe this was the evil one that didn't want to go in. Yes. So I'll hold it a bit. Come on. Yes. So yes. And maybe put more light. So this one I left with a long tip because I wanted to demonstrate it on camera how it looks without the guard. So now it's a 3 cut. We're testing in the back. It only goes to here. To here. So so one further, it goes to here. Nothing. No, now it stays here. Let's count to the bottom. That's the one below. Yeah, and that's the lowest. So now the second one from the back is pretty much like this, but this is now higher. Let's again count. 1, 2, there's the deep one, and I again miscounted, so that's the bottom. Second one, third one, and fourth one. So the fourth one is also the same. So maybe I'll note it before I forget. So this one wasn't, this was, and this was. So no, this one too, and it's the most first one. Yes, only 3 gates that matched. So let me just check how I, yes, okay. That one needs some force and I don't want to break it also. Yes, and he's alive. So now the forecut. Okay. Okay. So the last one. Let's, come on, it's a bit stuck. Gotta free it up first. Yes, now it's free. So on the second one from the back, it only goes this far. So I think only the last one already was. No, not so far as the last one before. Oh, come on. No, that's a bit further, but not completely. So you can compare. Oh, I'm not so centered. So I'm trying to do this not through the camera because it's really hard to have orientation. So I hope it was in frame before. Looks like it was only the last one, or at least I couldn't find. Now let's first note. So and the last cut. Come on. Okay, that one's in, and it's moving. I'm a bit lost, but I think that's the highest part now. Come on. So let me just pull a bit. So sometimes I turn with this the core a bit back, so the spring in here is pushing the levers on the same height. I'm not doing this blend or so, I just do it every now and then. Here it's scraping, and that's the second one. Yeah. Yeah, it's only number 2. That makes also sense because it's the last space I've left in here, and this is now the bitting, at least the one I've come up with. So, but I remember that this one and this one is right because I used it to make the wires here. So to get the length of the wires, I just wanted to get the shortest one and the longest one right. And the other ones are incrementally increasing. So I basically, if I have this and this, I know there are 6 gates, 6 depth. So the 0, 1, but my key didn't have 0, 1. So I basically, where is it? Here. Looked at my key and I saw this here is one extreme cut and this is the other extreme. So this here is a 5 and this is the 4 cut. Basically I don't have a 5 cut. This one here would be a 5 cut, but it's only in the back and there's no lever for it. So that's basically just at the back there's a plate which is turning and this is entering this plate. So we can now check the bitting. So I've said, let's start from the back because here in the front it's a bit strange. So here we have a 4 and it makes sense that it's a bit shorter than the 5 cut, which I know is a 5 cut because it's the highest possible before the warding. So this is truly a 4. Then 3 makes sense, 2, 3 again, 2 again, and 1, 5, which is second one, and 3. So here is no lever and this is also not interacting with the lock. So we have decoded the lock correctly. It was not easy, but I should also show the wires and the dimensions. So the one wire, which is the shortest one I could check with my lock, has the length of the part here in between. So from above this wire, this part from here to here is 5 millimeters, and then it's 6, 7, 8, and this one is a tiny bit more than 9. So I'm not taking into account the thickness of the wire when measuring from here to here. So I'm measuring basically from here to the inner part here. The wire thickness, yeah, maybe it's 0.6 or 5. So I have my good this here down in my workspace or makerspace. Okay, welcome to my shop. So this is a cooler from a PC. So you can see I cut off here one of those rows, and that's one of these here. Basically it was here. Then I took a bolt cutter and made a line here. So I just had a short piece of this. Then I took the cuts that I know and the measurements, which I can put in the description, or yeah, I will put them somewhere. And then I basically just cut my key with some files and, oops, sorry, and a saw. So basically when I had my key, I filed in the bitting like this, and every few strokes I checked with the how's it called, with this measurement device. Let me see, here it is, this guy. So I basically checked the depth very often just to not cut too far. So, and then, or before I cut this bitting in here, I took the file and took the measurements from the keyway here and took them. I will also put them in the description and put the warding from here onto the key. So basically this part here from the key, I did it with hand files. So this 90-degree file, but I found better to work this 60-degree file because I could file like this and tilt it a tiny bit. This here will make the angle bigger than 90 degrees, and this here will actually end up at 90 degrees. So I have now this here. I filed the cuts as I have decoded them before into the key. And now let's find out if it works. So it inserts right to this part here. Oops. Let's show it again. So you can see I can just insert it like here. And now I will take some clamps. Doesn't need much force, but I don't want to do it by hand. So and now the magic moment, and it works super smooth. And that's not actually because I've made the key so well, it's because of the blocker here. Because if the key just roughly puts the levers into the right height, the blocker will put them exactly to the right height. And this is how you open the Western Electric 30C. So now let's have a look at the result. This here are the measurements you can see here. You can also take them if you have the log from the outside part. Just make sure you make a piece of metal that you can slip into the keyway. Then the bitting I've put here again, as I already said in the picking or in the decoding, but I don't expect you to have watched this because yeah, it's very boring and tricky to make. So this is like a 5 to 0 cut. It's 0 to 4.5 millimeters increasing from the last part of the lowest step here. So from here to a 4 cut would be, for example, 0.9 millimeter, to a 1 cut 3.6, and so on. So here again, because it's so cool, I just slide it in, and then I can, come on, take this and turn it open. Isn't that cool? Ta-da!